Yeah. Warwickshire. We're in. Right, we can start now. Got a friend in the house.
Right. I shall see you at the end for the Q&A.
Perfect. Speak to you in a bit. Well, good morning, everyone. My name's Todd from Spaghetti Agency. I'm going to be talking to you about TikTok this morning. So a bit of housekeeping. If you've got any specific questions, please put it in the Q&A, not the chat. Feel free to use the chat. And I'll do my best to pick up things as I go through, but it often works better if I pick them up near the end. So if there are actually really specific questions, then pop them in the Q&A so we've got the best opportunity to answer them all. I'm going to share my screen. I've got some slides and things purely so you can take screenshots, pictures, stuff like that. So hopefully this is going to be of value to you. I'll tell you a brief story before we start, but let's get the screen sharing on so I know it's all working well. Hopefully you can all see that. In fact, if you can't see that, just put it in the chat. Yes, that'd be fantastic, just so I know it's all working well. And we'll get going. I'll put the chat over there so it's not distracting me and I can see it. Lovely. Thank you to everyone so they can see the slides. Brilliant. So let's talk about TikTok. Let's talk about how it can help it build your brand and your business. This is the first question I always get asked about TikTok. So let's put the elephant in the room. Not that that lady's an elephant. That's very rude of me. Let's put the topic in the room that everyone says to me. Isn't it just for young girls dancing? That's where it kind of started. TikTok was actually called Musical.ly before it was bought by another company and turned into TikTok. And that's exactly what it was for. It was for actually lip syncing and dancing, and that's what it was for. And yes, there are lots of things like that on there still, but there are also loads of other things as well. So I follow people in the fitness world, I follow people in the mindset world, I follow all sorts of people on there. I even learn about the pyramids of Giza on TikTok. There's all sorts of other things on there as well. So let's put that assumption aside, because TikTok is what you make it, and I'm going to very much explain that as we go through today. Just going to move this little bar out of the way. There we go. So to be honest with you, I actually thought TikTok was for young girls dancing too. And I thought, why would a 45-year-old bloke want to go on TikTok? What's the purpose for me on there? But more importantly, what's the purpose for my business on there? So I had a moment in 2021, which I'll explain in a minute, which made me jump onto TikTok. But essentially what happened in 2020, as I'm sure you'd all remember, is lots of things happened. We had this happened in 2020, but we also had this as well. So you've got the rise of TikTok. People moved to different channels. We moved to Zoom, we moved to Teams, remote working, hybrid. I don't need to tell you guys, because you run a business, that 2020 was a dramatic change to most people around the world. And the effect on TikTok was huge. The amount of extra users it generated and the growth that's happened since has been absolutely colossal. Also, what happened in 2020 is a lot of us stayed at home, we got bored, and frankly, we drank a lot of drink, and this was me in 2021 actually. And in 2020 and 2021, I really went for it with the drinking. I've always been into drinking, and this is relevant, so stick with me for a minute. And much like a lot of people, like I've spoken to since actually on TikTok, 2020 kind of changed people's habits, and it made them very unhealthy. We didn't move as much, and lots of people, kind of worked their way through COVID with substances, and that's what I did. So in 2021, I quit drinking because I realized that wasn't really serving me anymore. And I'm very proud to say I have not touched a drop of it since. And I used social media to keep me accountable. I posted on my Facebook that I'd quit drinking in the hope that this would keep me accountable, and it actually worked. This isn't a tip I wanted to give to you, but you really do need accountability if you're going to take on a new habit. So it worked for me. I'm still sober, and I realized at a point, I got about a year, I shared quite a lot on Facebook. It was a bit much even for me. I do love a bit of social media, and I thought I needed to go and put this somewhere else. And I've always wanted to start a channel from scratch for myself, for something unrelated to marketing and business and content, Google ads, and all of the things that we do here. I've always wanted to start something with a completely different feel to it. So thank you, Susie, for the well done, by the way. So I thought, let's try TikTok. Let's just see whether TikTok's the place where I can just share all of my thoughts around this journey and see if other people are interested in it. So I signed up for TikTok and I shared this video. Habit hacking, removing and replacing. So I thought I wasn't quite brave enough to talk about alcohol. Let's talk about habits. That will appeal to absolutely everybody. Hopefully people will resonate with it. And I posted this video. I got nearly 3,000 views. Now, if you're new to TikTok or you're on it now, you'll know that 250, 300 views is what most people get. I'll explain that a little later. So to get 3,000 is pretty good. I didn't realize it at the time, but basically, as far as I'm concerned, I blew up TikTok. That was it. I'm a guru. One video, smashed it out of the park. But if I'm honest, I actually forgot about that video and forgot to keep going on it until a little later on. I spoke to my team who use TikTok and said to them, I got 3,000 views. Is that good? They said, yeah, that's really good. Most people don't get that. So I dug into what has worked and how I'd done it. And that's what I'm going to share today. Long story short, went viral several times. At one point, I'd reached 6 million people in 60 days, had several viral videos. I've had global press, local press, and all sorts of cool shit like that. But that's enough about me. This tool is very powerful. And the ability to reach millions of people with very few followers, as long as you do the right things at the right times, is there for you. And one of the reasons I'm really excited about TikTok is the other social media channels are now following the trend of how TikTok's built. So if you can get your head around TikTok, you'll actually be getting your head around the future of LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, because you can see the changes that are evolving over there, especially with Reels, that have all been led by this change from TikTok, because they're in fear. People are moving to TikTok and they prefer that channel. And TikTok's retention of attention is very, very powerful. So they're looking at how they can learn from that. So it's a powerful platform. And I started from ground zero. I didn't use any of my marketing prowess here, by the way. I didn't share it on my email list. I didn't put a link on my Facebook. I didn't do any paid ads. I didn't do anything. I purposely, as a test, I didn't even tell my partner I was on TikTok. I didn't tell my team. It was a dirty little secret that I used to do just there on that windowsill outside a shop. I used to do all my videos there with no camera, no mic, no strategy, nothing. It was completely ground zero. So if I can do that, you can do it too. Here's how I did it. First, why you should bother. I think I probably covered this, but there's a couple of things that this will appeal to all social media. So jot these down. These things make social media work. If you don't do these things, I don't think social media really matters. It doesn't work for you, sorry, and it won't get you as much reach and interaction and engagement. Your content needs to be entertaining, right? People are using social media to pass the time. It needs to be engaging because you need to keep people on your content, coming back to your content. It possibly needs to inspire them, and at some level it needs to educate them as well. If you can use some of those four elements in most of your posts, they will be better than most people's content. I think a lot of business content forgets that social media is a social platform. It forgets it's for entertaining people. I learn loads of stuff, but I'm also inspired by that. In part, I quit drinking because of podcasts and Instagram Reels and Facebook Reels, content shared from people who were very successful, who removed alcohol. It inspired me and it entertained me in some level. It educated me and it made me shift, and it kept me on their content. One of the screenshots I shared before actually was a guy that was talking about the benefits of sobriety. And so social media can be a very, very powerful platform, but to keep people on there and to get them to be aware of you and recognize you, you've got to kind of cover these four elements. Now, there's four things that affect TikTok success. So another four things for you to consider and write down in your notes. The first thing is the search. TikTok is used as a search engine. People will search for products and services on TikTok. Gives you a great opportunity as your business to be there if you're creating content that matches what they search for. You definitely need a really good hook at the beginning of your videos. If you do email marketing, you need a good subject line. If you create LinkedIn posts, you need a first sentence needs to be very powerful, needs to get their attention. If you write for the newspaper, you need a great headline. If you create Netflix movies or series, you need a title that hooks them in, right? It's always the first few seconds of a video that make or break that video. So the hook is important. I will cover more of that in a minute. Storytelling is very, very powerful on all marketing, but especially on TikTok. People prefer it if they feel part of the journey and part of the story. It's certainly something that's worked well for my channel because I've kind of shared my journey throughout it over the past year or so, and people have joined that journey. One of the most popular things I did recently was Dry January, where I shared a video every single day, shared thoughts and ideas, and I kept people going through. Lots of people did Dry January with me. It was a lot easier for me because it's my second or third, can't remember now. So they followed through with it, and they used me as an accountability, and they joined in every single day and just posted "I'm still sober" in the comments, which increased my engagement, but also increased their possibility of making it through Dry January as well. So they followed the story. So keep people on board with your story, take them with you. You also need the engagement. This is across all social media. If people don't engage, the algorithms notice, and they show your content to less people in the future. We really need to create content that gets people to comment, gets them to watch, gets them to like and share. We know this, but I think it's worth repeating it, that the algorithms want people to stay there. So if you create boring content, you ain't going to be there anymore. They're going to put more entertaining people in there instead. There is a viral video. It's probably not PC to talk about on this podcast, so I won't on this webinar, sorry. But there is a viral video at the moment of two young ladies being interviewed. Most of you know what I'm talking about. It's just got people's attention, and it's got a lot of engagement. There's a lot of people talking about it, and there's memes and things created from it. So it doesn't always have to be some amazing, well thought out thing. I'm sure she wasn't thinking when she said what she said. So this is the big difference between this and other social media, but this is what's going to change on other people's social media and other platforms, is FYP, which is the For You page. So if you go to TikTok, there are two timelines. There are your friends, people you've connected with, and then there's the For You page. And most people spend their time in the For You page. The For You page is built for you, right? Clues in the title. So what you watch on TikTok, and because of the way TikTok is created, what you search for on the internet and the way that you behave online can affect your For You page. So your For You page is totally built for you, bespoke for you. I would argue there are no duplicated For You pages in the world. Like every single For You page is different because it's unique to you, because we're all a beautiful little snowflake, right? What we do is different to what everyone else does. And what we search on the internet, it starts to create a huge algorithm. So your timeline is built for you. And this is what makes TikTok so powerful. Because if you can work out what your audience are interested in, you will appear in the For You page, which means you don't need loads of followers like Instagram, and you can reach loads of people. And that is exactly what happened to me. So the key to TikTok is to really understand what people want to know, how they search for it, the types of words that they use, and the types of content they are already watching. So simply researching TikTok will help you do this. The For You page means you don't need followers. So I started with no followers and got 3,000 views. I mean, I don't know how many followers on my Instagram. It's not really a key focus for my business, my personal Instagram. I've got like 2,500, 3,000 followers on there. If I put a reel on there, I'm lucky to get 200 views on it. But on TikTok, I can get 2,000, 3,000, 2.1 million, one of my videos got, on a very small amount of followers. So my first viral video didn't have many followers at the time. I was underneath 5,000 followers, got about 37,000 now, but it doesn't really matter. You don't actually need followers. So this is a huge change to social media, which is coming downstream to the other platforms. You don't really need hashtags either. It's more about the content you create. They do help, but you've probably noticed on Instagram, they're now recommending between 3 and 5 hashtags. It's not really about that anymore. It's quite a cumbersome tool. They're now working on how long you stay on video content, because it knows what that video content is about. We're in the AI era now. So if you take a picture of something and ask Google what it is, it will tell you. So these algorithms know exactly what you're talking about. They know exactly who you are, what type of style you are. So if you watch a video of someone fly fishing, I don't know why that came up as an idea. I don't fly fish and I'm not 400 years old. But if you watch something about fly fishing, you're going to get more content about fly fishing if you stay on that content, because the algorithms are incredibly intelligent. And you don't need an old social media mindset. It's not about growing followers. Someone said the other day, do I grow my TikTok by following loads of accounts so they follow me back? No, that's not how it works. You just create great content that's perfect for your ideal customers and clients. Most of my traffic source is from the For You page. You can see there, that's 93% of the engagement on one of my videos came from the For You page. So I've grown all of these followers on TikTok, 37 and a bit thousand people, but the most of the views come from the For You page. It's a very powerful part of TikTok. Right, let's get into some tips and some ideas for you. Start thinking about TikTok like Google. Dead simple, right? We know how to use Google. TikTok is like Google. People are using it to search for things. They're using it to search for products and services because, much like Amazon reviews, we'd prefer to see what other people say about it than what the business owner or company says about it. Apple are always going to say their latest iPhone is better, but we know better, don't we? It's exactly the same phone. It's got a slightly different camera lens on it. We want to know what the real people say about it. So this is why influencer marketing and reviews are powerful. TikTok is very powerful for this, and people are using it to find out what people really think about products. So consider that. Your business may well be being talked about on TikTok already. So if there's not an argument of being on there already, I don't know what is. Get on there and have a look. Social listening, which I'm not going to cover in here today, is an important part of social media strategy. What are people saying about your business elsewhere when they're not tagging you and not using hashtags? They don't make it easy for you. How many times have you talked about a company and you haven't done them the service of tagging them in? So think about that. It's a search engine. It also means that the words you type and say really matter. So it's a bit like search engine optimization for your website. You know what people type into Google to find you. So I would want to appear quite high up for digital marketing agency Warwickshire, or digital marketing agency Warwick or Leamington, where I'm from. I'd want to appear high up in Google. So I'd want to make sure those words are on my websites and blogs. On TikTok, you need to say and type the same words that you know people are looking for at the moment. So in my field on TikTok, in the sobriety world, there's a term called sober curious, which is people who are kind of thinking about becoming sober because they're not quite sure drinking's really serving them. And there's this whole community called a sober curious community, and it's become a thing. So when I started on TikTok, that was the hashtag I used, but it was also the terms and the things that I talked about. I even did videos which were titled, "What does sober curious mean?" or "Are you sober curious?" If you're sober curious, this might help. I started creating content that was based on what they were already watching on TikTok. So the research part of TikTok is quite important. Look around your competition, especially the ones doing very well on there, and see what kind of content they're creating. But also ask your customers, if you don't already know, what are they interested in? So that's the type of content that's going to get their attention on the timelines. The words and that you use basically in your voice and on the captions and in the post caption as well. So you've got subtitles, captions, and the hashtags. It all matters for your search engine optimization. Nicole on my team says, I use TikTok instead of Google, and it blew my mind until I started using it. Now I know why she does it, because instead of going to Google and finding a product, she finds people talking about the product instead. That is a huge shift in social media, I believe. That coupled with the For You page is changing how social media works. So if nothing else after today, you should go on there and search your own company name on there and see if anyone's talking about it. You may or may not find the content on there, but it's worth looking around. Right, let's move on to this, which is the hook. This is the beginning of your video. The first thing you say on your video mustn't be hello, you can't breathe, you can't talk about yourself. It has to be about the audience. Have you ever wondered why? Isn't it annoying if? I can't believe people do this. Those types of things are the words that people will say at the start. I know what some of you might be thinking. That sounds like clickbait, Todd. It is, but it's not clickbait. It's stop bait. You want them to stop and listen, and you have to have emotional words, negative words, kind of controversial words. I certainly don't want you to be like Donald Trump, Nigel Farage, the Daily Mail, but those types of brands really understand how to get people's attention with negativity, with shock tactics. You don't necessarily have to do that, but if you get people's attention, you'll get people's attention way more with negative than positive, because we're hardwired for negative. We're looking for negative. We're looking for threats all the time. You don't necessarily have to do that. Please match it with your brand. But having a negative hook, or at least an emotional hook, a pattern interrupt, will get people's attention more. Tell people what you want them to do. Tell people exactly what you want them to do. And please don't breathe as well. I might be introducing you to a new thing, or reintroducing you to the millennial pause, which is when you start a video, you take a breath and then do the video. You can't do that on TikTok. You have 3 to 5 seconds. A breath is one of them. It's a huge percentage of that short amount of time. And It sounds terrible to say, but it's true. If you breathe before you speak at the beginning of your videos, you're going to dramatically decrease the chance of your video doing well. So you can edit your videos. You can just take that first bit out, but please start straight away, immediately. If you go to TikTok after this, if you haven't been there before, and scroll through, you'll find videos that have got really big views. They always start straight away, right in the middle of it all. Some of the best TED Talks in the world start in the middle of a story. So Ken Robinson, who was one of the most watched, God rest his soul, he's not with us anymore, one of the most watched TED Talks in the world, walked onto his TED Talk and didn't present his TED Talk. He just said, "It's been brilliant, hasn't it?" And he just looked at the crowd. And we're instantly like, what's he talking about? You're engaged immediately. What was brilliant? Why did the crowd agree? That TED Talk kept people on. It's a phenomenal TED Talk, but the beginning of it is incredibly inviting and engaging. You want to know what's happening next. So think about the beginnings of your videos. Always have a great hook. This advert got my attention for obvious reasons. There's also another advert following me around the internet at the moment where a guy drinks a cup of coffee, throws it on the floor, and it smashes it all within a second. You watch it because it's like, what's happening? When you're scrolling through TikTok and it's the same thing over and over again, and all of a sudden someone spits coffee into a sink, you're going to watch it. It's going to get your attention. You don't have to be as dramatic as that, but I want you to kind of think, what can I do in my hook? How can I get their attention? Some of the essential things you could do, just some ideas for you. A small promise. You could say, in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to change your life. Please change their life after 30 seconds. That's clickbait. A pattern interrupt, you know, throwing a cup on the floor, spitting into a sink, or something a little bit more humane. Something that's shocking. Piers Morgan's pretty good at that. Maybe sweary, if it suits your brand. Maybe something quite quick and fast, you know, changing the transition on the screen. That's when you get, you know, into it really. You can start editing and playing around with it. Pain and fear, negative, mentioned that just now. It's what humans are hardwired to see. User focused, you know, are you afraid of AI taking your job? That's going to get people's attention. Or more specifically, are you a copywriter afraid AI is going to take your job? I've got some news for you. Get their attention immediately. And then, like I said at the start of this, keywords are really important. So when you're talking about AI, maybe you talk about ChatGPT or Bard or the other ones that are coming out. You keep it really specific on the search terms. And as I've said all the way through this, get to the point. Straight away, don't breathe, don't fill, don't waffle. Editing at the end of your videos can really help with this, but get to the point if you can. Okay, it's not working. There we go. Also, to keep them entertained through the video, this is a really attention deficit space that you're working in here. Have mini hooks throughout the videos. So get their attention at the beginning, but don't talk for too long about the same thing. You've got to keep the pace and keep the pattern. And think of it almost like a heartbeat. You know, you've got to keep keeping their attention through it. You'll get good at this later on, but it's just something worth mentioning that once you've got their attention, you've got to keep getting their attention because the retention level drops off. And it is difficult. I haven't fully mastered this myself. It is a challenge to do. Some of the really, really good content creators on TikTok come from a video background. They get it, they understand it, but you'll get it over time. Start to look at TikTok after this. If nothing else, get on TikTok, look, scroll through it, and you'll start to see what's working. Right, let's talk about storytelling because it's very important for all of your social media marketing. Even if you're presenting like this, you need a bit of a story. You need to keep people engaged and entertained. Stories definitely helped on my TikTok. Share content wrapped with a story. So maybe a beginning, middle, and end. Start with a story. Share the tips in the middle. Finish the story at the end. It's a speaking tip I learned many years ago. Start the story, but don't finish it. Give them the information and then finish the story. It helps people retain the information after your talk. Consider how you can tell the story. Start right away with a pattern interrupt, maybe in the middle of your story. Like say Ken Robinson came on, you know, he just started this story. If you look at some of the top 20 TED Talks, they all start in the middle of the story and then go back to, let me just take you back. But they've got your attention at the start. Make it relatable to your audience though. So almost make it feel like they're in the story. They can see that story. So if I was talking to business owners during 2020, which I did for SBB, talking about, you know, how the challenges that face businesses, the online working, the remote teams, all that kind of stuff, you're speaking to them in their language where they are right now. They're going to resonate with it. They're going to be like, oh, this person understands me. This content is made for me. That's what you've got to try and do. And like I've said throughout this, Try and use words that would work well on Google. So words and text, if you can. So this particular video is from Pure Gym, beginner's leg day. Leg day is a term people use when they train their legs. They haven't used like quad day, hamstring day, and all the other muscles, calves. They've used leg day. That's the term that people are looking for. And they've used the word beginner because that's their audience. I suspect once people go to the gym all the time, like I do, they don't really need these videos. So these are for people to join the gym. So they understand the audience on their social media. They know where their social media sits in their sales funnel, which you should understand with all of your social media. When do people meet your business on social? Whereabouts are they? For us, it's after they found us. Usually they will find us like today. Some of you guys will check us out on social media, Spaghetti Agency. You can find me online. You found me after you've met me. So I can understand where you are in the sales pipeline. And I tailor my content for that. We all learn and remember things via stories. So if you can tell a story of your brand, tell a story of your business, tell a story of your product or service, people will remember it way more than facts and figures. I think this part is the hardest part, but I think it's the secret weapon for most businesses. I think engagement and getting more and increasing it when you get it has really helped my business. So I grew my business from a kitchen table 10, 11 years ago. I met my partner, Joe, on Twitter, actually. I fell in love with her. We both got divorced and started a business. And we have grown this business purely from engagement at networking, exhibitions, and online. And the engagement on our emails, on our social media, on our Facebook group, we are absolutely focused on getting engagement from our community, having conversations with people. So this is the secret weapon. I don't think most people do it because it's the hardest bit, but let's give you some ideas and some thoughts around it. I believe that one of the big reasons my videos do well on TikTok is the comment section. This is the actual comments on my videos. You can't really see it because it's moving quite quick, but my face is underneath a lot of these comments because I'm replying to all the comments. Even the video that got 2.1 million views, it had, I don't know what the screenshot says there, 1,900 comments. I suspect 900 of those were me saying thanks, replying. It got to a point where I just stopped doing that. But when you start out on social media channels, the comments are the oxygen for your social. And if you can engage and get people back, that's helping the social media platform. TikTok wants people to stay there. So anything you can do to help them stay there, you win. And that's probably the overall tip for this whole webinar. You are helping TikTok keep people there with a hook, with great content, with engagement, and all of the other things. If you can keep them there, then TikTok will reward you. It will share your content to more people. They absolutely will. And it, to be fair, does that on lots of the other stuff as well. Thanks, Adam, and appreciate you turning up late and still getting value. Let's talk about some engagement driving, not clickbait, but engagement driving ideas to help you get more stuff. Clearly, you've got to create content, good content, content that resonates, content that people are going to be interested in and want to respond to. Asking questions is such a simple way of doing that. Getting people to engage. My calls to action on the end of my videos are usually, oh, by the way, if you're still sober, type "I'm still sober" in the comments, and people just type "I'm still sober" in the comments. The added bonus for me is people are typing the word sober in all of my videos, which increases the overall authority of my videos for the search term that I'm trying to rank for. And at one point I was ranked 1, 2, and 3 at different times in one of the biggest hashtags in sobriety, 1.2 billion followers. And I was right at the top there. And those videos all had loads of engagement because it's a clear indication that the video is good quality. The algorithms are clever, but they're not human beings. So that human response is what's important. Tell people to comment. It's literally what I do at the end of my videos. Ask them, please let me know in the comments give me your ideas at the bottom, that kind of thing. Keeps people interested. Ask for shares, saves, that's important as well. Reply to all the comments. I've done that. You don't have to do this forever, but when you start out, you won't have that many comments. Unless you go viral, then you will. But I still think it's important to do. I would try and reply with keywords as well. So I would reply with when did you stop drinking? How long have you been sober? What's your favorite alcohol-free beer? I would respond with actual keywords. There's some intention behind it. It isn't just thanks, because that's the end of the conversation and it doesn't get them to come back. So I'm constantly trying to drive that engagement. You can do this across all social media, but it really, really works well on TikTok. Reply with questions, just said. And you can also, and this is a really cool thing that I don't think anyone's stolen the idea from yet. Even Facebook haven't done this, I don't think anyway, although they change every day. So maybe it's live now. But if you get a comment on TikTok in your videos, you can press and hold and reply with video. And it's such a great way of driving traffic between your videos. This works really well if you've got a video that's done well. It's got thousands of views, maybe hundreds of thousands of views, you know, it's done well. If you reply to comments in that with new videos, it helps the new video because people come from the big video back to the other video because it highlights it at the top as a response to the comments. So it's a really great way of linking up your content. You can also do other things. I haven't put this in the slides, so write it down. You can do playlists in there as well, much like I think they're called series on TikTok. Forgive me if the terminology is not quite right there. But like on YouTube, you can do playlists of videos. You can do a series of content as well. So I did this in Dry January. For those of you joining late, I quit drinking, and that's what I shared on TikTok. So in Dry January, I did a whole series of these things, and I linked them all together. And it certainly helped drove the engagement there. So much like if you're an Instagrammer, you've got the highlights collections at the top there. Do the same thing with these videos. YouTube has replied to comments with shorts. Perfect. Thank you, Amy, for the addition there. I'm absolutely amazed Facebook have not done that. If I haven't done it this morning, because you know what they're like. They're very quick to move on these things. TikTok rewards people who engage more. It just 100% does. And do you know what I really like about TikTok, which again, the other platforms haven't quite got on board with, is they literally tell you what to do to go viral. And it's not give some money, will boost your videos. They do that too. But they literally tell you, they say, look, you should create more videos like these people. Look what they did. This helps engagement. Do more of this. Videos over 60 seconds, do this. And they're coaching you through it. So there's a whole creator side of TikTok that you can get to. Depending on the amount of followers, I think there's a certain level where you can't get access to all of this stuff. But it's not lots of followers. It's not like a zillions. So TikTok, they understand it. I think TikTok get it. And I think that's the threat to the social media channels. If they train us to create better content, that keeps people on there longer and their advertisers make more money. It's a really, really good system and it works really well. It is highly addictive. I will put that out there. Maybe I should have put this as a disclaimer at the beginning. It is addictive because you're going to find what you love in the world. You're going to find it on TikTok and you're going to find more of it. And it's going to be it's going to be great. You know, if you've started watching stuff about the presidential election in America or our elections next week here, and then you go to TikTok, it's highly likely you'll get content on there. Your reticular activator system in your brain's going to go, oh, we're interested in that. It'll stop scrolling for a millisecond. The algorithm will know that's happened. And then all of a sudden your timeline will change immediately. So it's a very fast paced thing and it is completely built on what you're interested in. So once again, reverse engineer that. What are your customers and clients interested in? What is it that they are interested in? What are those questions they always ask you? What's that thing they always say? Oh, isn't it just this? Or how do I do that? I've got this problem with X, Y, Z. Talk about that thing. No matter how many times you've said it, put it on TikTok, put it on the internet, because you need to keep repeating it. So a really great post this morning I saw from my business partner, actually. And she said, I don't know who needs to hear this, but you're the only person that sees all of your content. It's such a great post. You're the only person that sees all of your content. Your followers don't see all your content. They see a tiny amount of your content. They just don't see it. So it's okay to reshare it. It's okay to put it out there again. It's okay. You have my permission to share stuff you shared last week. No one's going to know. Right, a few tips, a few things, dead simple stuff. These are questions I always get asked. If I had a TikTok channel about social media, which I do on my other channel, I don't really focus on it because LinkedIn's our lead gen tool, then here's a few things people always ask me. Here are the answers to them. How long should your videos be? It used to be very short. Now it's moving slightly longer. TikTok have got their eyes on YouTube. They've got their eyes on Facebook. And longer form video is what they're trying to push. So sometimes videos between 60 and 90 seconds will outperform videos that are 5 or 6 seconds long. But the most viral videos on TikTok have been very, very, very short. That meme that's going around the internet, the two lovely young ladies been interviewed in America, that's a very, very short clip of a slightly longer interview. So the shorter stuff tends to work well. I've had lots of success from 60+ second videos on TikTok, but they are edited, cut down, shortened, so they're a good pace. How often should you do it? TikTok, you can get away with doing one a day. You don't have to do that, but the more the better. You don't necessarily have to do 3 or 4 a day like some people say. If the videos are good and you can keep doing them, then keep doing them. I don't think a video a week is enough. TikTok is a phenomenally fast timeline. It's desperate for content. And this, I have no fact to base this on. I have no proof from TikTok, but I believe if you can create more good content, they're going to reward you. They're going to help you. The algorithm will anyway, but I think they'll be looking more. These content creators create lots of stuff. On average, it gets this many views. Let's give them more help than we do other people. This is the type of thing algorithms do. So I just think the more you do, as long as it's good stuff and it's working for you and you can achieve it, I think the more the better. When do you do it? When should you do TikTok? My best performing videos are always between 5 and 7 p.m. at night. That said, the lifetime of a TikTok video is years. One of my first ever videos got a comment yesterday. I could reply to that in a comment now and push it all the way back up the timeline. I could comment on it, but it is probably a good idea to launch it, publish it when there's more people around. I didn't cover this earlier, so I will just cover the algorithm slightly now. The way the algorithm works on TikTok is it will show your video to 250 people first-ish, that sort of number. And it will see whether they care about it. And that's why most videos on TikTok are just 250 views, because they're rubbish. Because people didn't comment, they didn't engage, they didn't share. And the algorithm uses human feedback to decide whether to share it to another 250, 300, 400, 700,000 people. And then it keeps doing it. Much like the rings on a tree, it'll just keep going out to different rings. And then, you know, if it gets 10,000 people like it, it'll be 20,000 people, etc., etc. I'm making the numbers up now, but that's the kind of theory behind it. So when you put it out does matter, because you actually want lots of people there. I suspect it's pretty much the same as most social media. The evenings are busier than the daytime, because even here, my team shouldn't really be on their phones all day long, even though we're a social media and digital marketing agency, we're working. So there's going to be more people on there later on. Consistency definitely wins as well. So this guy I follow, he's very rude and sweary. Don't watch it with the kids around, but he's a yoga and meditation practitioner. To get your attention, he says the F word at the beginning of his videos, so be warned. And then he basically tells you to sit down and take a breath. So to stop you scrolling, he tells you to stop scrolling and tells you to sit down, and then he does a meditation practice with you. And I kid you not, when I see this guy, I can't stop scrolling. I can't keep scrolling, sorry. I have to stop. I have to watch his videos because he gets my attention. And as you can see from his views, you know, he's got a few millions there. This is quite an old screenshot now. He'll have way more followers now as well. He gets the attention. But his videos are consistent. They are consistent. The style of it, the way he starts it. The meditation is different. He wears the same hat and he says the same thing. So think about your brand and your consistency. It's the same on social. It's fine to try new things, but once you've got something that sort of works, stick with it. I made the mistake at the beginning of my TikTok doing it in one of these t-shirts. I didn't want it to be about my business, because I always thought someone's going to come along and say, oh, you're just trying to promote your business. No one ever has, actually. It's kind of weird. But I really wish I'd not worn my branded t-shirt when I did the first video. Although the PR I've had was double spread in what paper was it? Can't remember. I was in the Sun, but I wasn't branded. I had another. I was on someone else's newspaper title, and I was wearing my t-shirt. So it's a bit of branding. So maybe not a bad thing. But the consistency is important. So I try and do all of my videos in the same t-shirt because it's part of my brand. And you can see from here, look at them. They're all the same background, same style, same captions, same images, same hashtags, same fonts. There's a real thought behind it. Muck around to start with, have a bit of a play, but then get yourself a kind of style of doing the videos and keep them the same. It actually makes it easy when you do the same stuff anyway, because you know how you start, you know how you end, you know your background, you know the position of the microphone and the camera. You've got the consistency settled there already. This guy that does the meditation, he knows exactly how to start his videos. He's got a hook that works. He just uses the same hook every single time. He's not doing the hard work like I am. What can I do as a hook today? He's just doing the same hook, the same thing, the same rude word every single time. Isn't that boring when it looks the same, Diane? No. Well, it is, but no, it's not Instagram. It's not like the grid on Instagram. It's consistency. If I'm scrolling through TikTok and there's loads and loads of videos, and then I see something I recognize, I am way more likely to stop on it, because my brain is looking for patterns and it's looking for familiarity. This is why it's so hard to create a habit, right? You try and do something new. It's like, this is not familiar to me. I don't understand this. You go to a different city. It's not familiar. It's exciting, but it's all a bit like you come home like, oh, it's actually quite nice to be at home because it's familiar. So in the timeline, weirdly, our brain is looking for familiarity and looking for things that it recognizes. It feels safe there as well. We're hardwired for safety. We're hardwired for negativity, but we're hardwired for things that we know. We know And so it might look a bit boring. My OCD is loving inconsistency. Vicky, you're going to love it, but then it's going to hold you back. There is no perfection on TikTok. It's just close. It's close to being there. So my videos, bit of consistency in there. I've gone off a bit there, but I'll try and keep the captions the same, try and keep the background the same. My face is part of the consistency, the t-shirts and stuff there, but it's not perfect. Wouldn't please someone with OCD. But when people scroll down the timeline, I have the same position in the camera. I start the same sort of hooks, and the content is the same too. So it doesn't have to be exactly the same as these people. I put that on there as a stark kind of difference. These are very, very, very similar, but these are consistent. And I could have took a screen grab that was all in blue t-shirts. I chose not to, because you can go off piece slightly. Yeah, there is a replay as well if you lost connection in Turkey. Great content coupled with a recognizable thing is what you want to get to. So have the great content, have a thing, have a recognizable thing. So my meditation guy tells you to sit down. There's people who walk around supermarkets telling you shouldn't eat this food. That's their thing. There's people that have a go at people who walk around supermarkets doing that. That's their thing too. So my thing has always been sharing what I'm experiencing as I'm sober. So when I go to weddings, I'm like, you know, with the sunshine coming out, it's those experiences. That's what I'm sharing. That's my thing. That's what people are interested in. Plus, the end of my videos, I always ask people to put how many days sober they are in the comments, and that's what people have started to do. I must admit, I've been off my TikTok for a little while on the consistency. I'm looking to get back into it. It's been super busy here, but when I went back on it the other day, all the comments came back. People were there, ready to go again. Just keeping an eye on the chat over there. That's just an example of this guy literally debunks other people's videos. That's his thing. He's actually doing very well. He's started to be on mainstream TV now. He is a doctor, started on TikTok. Now he's got millions of followers, and he goes on TV, and he's now got his side hustle going completely from scratch. So it's a business case, side hustle, TikTok, uses his expertise and advice, put it on there completely free, never sold anything. Now he's got sort of mainstream media attention, and he's got a business running on the side, and it's done rather well. Right, summing up, then we'll go to questions. I've answered a few, but I know there's a few in the Q&A. I think there's 12 in there by the look of it. I thought TikTok was this, and I was massively wrong. TikTok isn't just people dancing. It's almost every topic, and I suspect it probably is every topic you could ever imagine. When I started my TikTok with not as many followers as I've got now, I reached 6 million people in 60 days. I had a bit of press. I had some the Daily Star. That was what I was trying to think of. There's me in my branded t-shirt, freestone everything I am now. And I also got into American Newsweek, and I was also asked. I never followed it up. There was an agency trying to get me into kind of Lad Bible and stuff like that. I got to a point where I was like, this could get a bit distracting. So I pushed back on it a little bit. Had I been a business? Here's the thing people always ask me. That's great, Todd, but you made no money for your business. It has actually helped me gain clients for my business, weirdly. I have about 100 people over the course of a few years who have asked me to be their sobriety coach. Do you do coaching? Can you help me? Do you charge for one-to-one calls? People wanted to work with me, even though I still, to this day, never had anything to sell. So if you have something to sell, don't sell it. Give the value, give great content, and people will come to you. There's a link in the bio after you get to a few thousand followers. People will check it out and they'll find it. Your thing is your unique selling point, Jen. Yeah, I love that. Wrapping up, search engine optimization. The way people use TikTok is like Google. You need a good hook at the start. Tell stories. Engagement is massive. You've got to get engagement. And like those 4 things I said at the beginning, you entertain, you engage, you inspire, and you educate. You will keep people interested in your content. I've told my story throughout my TikTok. This has kind of worked because people want the beginning and the end immediately. That kind of content's worked on TikTok, but also the everyday stuff has worked as well. I'm going to get to questions now. I'm going to put my QR code up there. So if you want to find out more about me, you can. And I will leave that on there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Todd. I feel like we've had such a great dive there into TikTok. I especially loved your essential hooks for kind of tapping into what grabs people's attention. Those definitely resonate with what I think about when I think of my own consumption. So thank you for that.
Perfect. Thank you.
We have got quite a few questions, so I will dive straight in. First question here, can I repurpose my Instagram reels on TikTok? And do you have any suggestions of how to do this most effectively?
Great question. Something I should post about a lot more because I get asked it a lot. TikTok and Instagram are like your wife and your girlfriend. You should never mix them together. Not that I have those two things. If you take a video from Instagram and you download it and put it on TikTok, it will bomb. It won't work well because they have like metadata in the background. Both the platforms know what you've done. You are far better creating a video on your phone, maybe using CapCut, which is a really great app for editing, and then sharing it individually to those platforms. If you try and you can't cross post, but if you just want to download it and chuck it on there, there's metadata. TikTok leave the logo on there if you're doing it in there. So yeah, I would not do that. But if you've got a video on Reels that's doing really, really well, just do it again for TikTok. Just do it again. And maybe just improve a little bit and edit it slightly. Take out your millennial pause and your breathing and just make it a little bit better.
Awesome, thank you. And the next question is, does it hurt to reply to very old comments just to make the content maybe move up?
No, and I love doing that. It's a really good tip. You should do that in Facebook groups. It's a great way to get your posts from 5 years ago at the top, and people are like, what's this post about? I do that all the time. It's a really good tactic. Find a post that's done well in the past, comment on a video on TikTok. If you've had a video that's done well, go to the comments, find a really great question, press and hold, do a video to reply to it, and it'll drive traffic around it. It's such a great part of TikTok that I really should use more, actually.
That's such a good idea, like pressing and holding. I like
Brilliant.
that.
I love it. I can't wait for someone like LinkedIn to catch up.
Only a matter of time, right?
Mm.
How much time do you spend on your TikTok?
Good question. Sometimes in the past, I've spent too long. And the good thing about TikTok is it's actually better to be quite scrappy. I like to think of TikTok as a notepad and Instagram as the gallery. Like Instagram, it needs to be beautiful. It's a glossy magazine. It's Vogue. Whereas TikTok is, it's the back of a fag packet, as my grandfather used to say. Like it's just scrappy, it's messy, play around with it. You can spend way too long editing your TikTok videos. My advice to anyone starting out is start, put them out there, have a go, and start to sort of get better at the editing. If nothing else, edit the beginning and the end of it so it starts and stops abruptly, and listen back to your video before you publish it. If you repeat anything, just take it out because you don't need it in there because people will just rewatch it to get the repeat. So you can spend too long. Generally speaking, when I do a video of about 2 minutes, it will take me about 10 minutes to edit it, but that's when I've got good at it. So yeah, when you start, it'll be a bit longer.
Interesting question coming here. Is there a risk if the US banned TikTok that the UK might follow suit?
Yeah, there is. I'm not sure that will actually happen. Reading into it, they've got to comply with a few things. It's mainly down to data, but there's always a risk. One of my clients, I must hasten to add, it wasn't our fault, lost access to his personal Facebook. 15 years, lost all of his friends and connections, but he also lost access to his ad account. He lost access to everything because he didn't have two-factor authentication. So there's always that risk. I would always advocate building your own email list, getting your own list in there, which is why I put a QR code on here. You know, like you'll always find Spaghetti Agency, and that'll help you get and find us. So there is a risk, but there's a risk you'll lose Facebook too.
Totally. Just got to roll with it and make the most of it whilst it's still good.
Totally. And I'll tell you one thing I didn't put in the slides, but look out for Vine, which is Twitter's short form video, which was years ago. I don't know if you remember Vine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Elon Musk bought Twitter, and he's bought everything. And you know, if you read into why he bought Twitter, he bought it for lots of other reasons. But he owns everything, all of the conversations, every tweet that's ever sent. But he also owns Vine. So Gary Vaynerchuk, an American marketer, most of you will have heard of, is predicting that it's going to come back. So I would be taking all of these tips, hitting Vine when it comes out, and smashing it.
Do you recommend that we feature ourselves on our video, or is a voiceover and captions enough? In other words,
yeah, both are fine, but I find certainly watching some of the really good creators on TikTok that their videos do better with them in it. And I forget the guy's name, but he's a brilliant video editor. The sound is gorgeous. His voice is amazing. The lighting's incredible. But he's actually gone back to the basics because that's what TikTok wants. TikTok wants this just, yeah, we're not using filters on Zoom. We're just here. It's just us. And there's no clever ring lights and stuff. It wants the real life stuff. So, you know, that's, I forget what the question was now. What was the question? I've got off on a tangent.
That's okay. The question was about having our faces in the video.
Yeah, so I think you're going to land with people more, but then people do enjoy watching those kind of, you know, here's what I did in my day videos with voiceovers. But I would use your own voice. I think the TikTok AI voice thing, I think that's done. I think the resistance of AI is here now. People have had enough of it already. It's going to be the future. It's going to be incredible. I'm massively on board with it. But I do think now we're just very distrusting of it all. And there's a lot of bad stuff going on. So I think use your own voice and your own face. I think authenticity is going to be the future with AI.
Definitely. I think as well, like when I'm watching videos myself, I don't mind if it's not perfect. Sometimes it's nice to see, behind the scenes, like even just how somebody might have packaged their product before they sell it out. Those kind of things sometimes are better. It doesn't necessarily have to be.
Totally. And you look at politicians. I mean, I don't want to get political on here, but there's a debate going on for next week. And one of the politicians has decided to use TikTok and he's just in the back of a car. Whereas the other ones have got like highly edited videos. Obviously, one of them's at number 10. And it's like, well, you look more relatable.
Yeah, personable, isn't it?
Yeah.
So another question is, I'm a product-based business. I do stationery. Do you have any advice for turning TikTok views into customers, or at least joining kind of email lists?
Yeah, show your product, show what your product can do. Top down videos would work really well for you as well. Like how can you actually use your products? The sound of your videos are really important as well. So if you can get the kind of pencil on the paper, that beautiful sound that it makes, opening up the packaging, how you box things up. There's this huge trend of people watching how people package things up, and it's the sounds that people love. So get a really good microphone and do that. The sales will come because people will fall in love with the way you package the product and how you send it to them and what's the experience like. That's the type of thing people want to see. If you just go on and say, here's, my product and it's this and I can ship it to you, you'll miss out. It's about showing, and the same for the jewelry question that's just come in there. Show how you make the jewelry, show how that, if it's bespoke for someone, or you've used grandmother's old ring and this is what I've done and turn it into something you can wear every day. Like the journey of it, the transformation of it. Humans love that stuff. That's why my TikTok's done so well. They're like, wow, there's a fat guy who's no longer fat. How did you do that? They're interested in the transformation stuff. So yeah, anything you can do in your business like that will definitely work.
Is it better to have a creator or a business account?
It depends because of the music. If you have a business account, I think this is right because I forget because Nicole's normally here to ask. The one or the other, you can't have access to all of the trending music, and the trending music, which I didn't cover in my webinar, can really help your video views. So there's differences between the two. The creator, you can actually earn money from it if you want to, but I'm more about kind of getting views and getting people to you.
Is it possible to make money directly from TikTok videos?
Yep. So you can get paid for your videos. So I get a small amount of money. The most I've ever made is like 100 quid a month. So you get video views of certain quality. Once you're in there, TikTok will literally pay you just to do videos. The other thing is TikTok Shop. So you can put things on TikTok Shop, which is like Amazon or Shopify. There's the whole system behind there. So you can make money through that. So put your products on there. There are quite a lot of people who sell other people's stuff on TikTok Shops, not even theirs. And they just do these kind of, here's some stuff. There's this weird thing about loo roll on TikTok. I know people are selling loo roll. They still think it's 2020 and there's no loo roll. I don't know what they're doing. But there's people on there making loads of money out of TikTok Shop. But that's a totally different strategy for a business. I wouldn't bother. I would always just sort of share what I'm about and stuff. But if you've got an actual product, TikTok Shop is worth looking at. Certainly a lot of money behind it.
Next question is, I share a lot of my stand-up comedy gigs on TikTok. Should I add a video intro with a hook?
Yeah, stand-up comedy works really well on Reels and TikTok, actually, because this is what I said about video editors earlier. They do really well. Like comedians totally understand how to get a point across really cleverly, all wrapped up. There's a whole system to comedy, which I'm a massive fan of. I think it's brilliant. So yeah, sharing short clips on there. I think the hook of the comedy, much like I said with Sir Ken Robinson's TED Talk, you share a bit at the beginning of your video of maybe the crowd laughing or a funny moment in it that makes no sense, and then start the joke. Because then you're like, well, it was obviously good because I've already seen it's good. Now I want to watch it through because you don't want to miss out. So this kind of like finishing the loop that we've got in our brains is very powerful. So, and that goes to everyone really. If you can show the kind of like going back to the stationery thing, if you can show it being bowed up and zipped and sent and then go back to the beginning, maybe that'll get their attention. But with comedy, yeah, show something completely out of context in the middle that's hilarious and then start the sketch, and that gets people's attention. Ricky Gervais's TikToks are quite good. If you watch those, it's a good example of it.
Would you use TikTok if you want more corporate clients, so B2B content?
No, they're all boring. They won't be there. I would, because I'd practice my content on there. I don't think corporate clients are going to be on TikTok. there's a caveat to this though, and I say this with a lot of things. Like if you're trying to get to the decision maker in a business, they're going to be inundated on LinkedIn. But if their influencers in the business are on TikTok, then you might find them. So as an example, my own business, I don't really spend loads and loads of time looking at certain things on TikTok, but my partner Joe and Nicole and my social team does. So I have actually bought things because of that, because my influencers around me have told me that. So if you think the influencers for the corporate decision maker might be on these channels, then there's a possibility it would work for you. Or you could just use TikTok to trial new videos. LinkedIn video has just started scroll up videos. It's very TikTok-y. So you can take some of the learnings from that straight out to LinkedIn. So maybe you can practice where no one's looking and then do some great corporate videos instead.
I think as well, it's one of those things, it can be quite scary once you first put a video out there, but once you realize that, you know, everyone's trying to do the same thing, no one's judging you, like, what's the you know, you can remove it, you shouldn't, probably should leave it there, but it's not the end of the world if it doesn't go well, is it?
No, not at all. And back on the negative bit there, I've had very few negative comments, and you know, reached millions and millions and millions of people basically saying stop drinking, which irritates nearly all of the UK. And I haven't had that many negative comments. So, you know, don't fear that kind of thing. It will happen, but it's going to be a minute amount of it. It's just your brain focuses on it.
Yeah. Is there any impact, positive or negative, in who you as a content creator are following or commenting on? As I believe LinkedIn is an example where you can positively engage with people in the same industry.
Yeah, it's very similar, I believe. So I follow lots of sober creators. I'll comment on their videos. I definitely did that at the start. So yeah, very similar thing. You're some of the 5 people you hang around with, you know, so your environment is quite important. So I would absolutely kind of deliberately comment on other stuff. I wouldn't get it to kind of poach their followers, but you know, if you want to, I'm on board with it.
Somebody's asked, I know we're running out of time, so I'll try and get through the last few. But somebody has asked about editing. So they're saying, is it necessary for you to post live, or is it okay to edit and then post back?
I would always recommend editing a little bit just to make it really tight at the beginning of the video and take out any repetition, ums and ahs if you want to. Most of the editing you can do right in the app. So you can use CapCut and some of these other apps if you want to. Some people will shoot the video from their phone just in the video app and then put it into CapCut and edit it all around. But honestly, I did most of mine, just opened up TikTok. It's very risky because if it crashed, I'd have lost the video. But straight into TikTok, recorded the video, edited it, posted it, just did it all in the app. It's completely built to do it in there like Instagram is.
And it links in with all the authenticity, not over engineering it, doesn't it, as well? Just
Totally,
get
yeah. And there is a school of thought from a lot of the content creators on TikTok that when you use TikTok's editing, TikTok's captions, TikTok's filters, it's better. Like the wife and the girlfriend thing, which I'm going to really regret saying from earlier. You don't want to mix the two things together. You don't want to go into Instagram and use all their stuff and then bring it over to TikTok. TikTok's not going to thank you for that.
Awesome. Oh, I'm so sorry we have run out of time, but thank you everyone for coming, for all the engagement. We will be sending a recording out to your email. So if you want to catch up on anything, you absolutely can. Thank you to Todd, and thank you again to BT Skills for making this happen. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day and wonderful weekend making lots of TikTok videos.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all. Bye.